Yeah.
Okay.
At this time, I'll call our budget workshop back to order. This is a continuation of the one that we started. And at this time, I will turn it over to our interim town manager, Mr. Bill Zale. And we do have with us this evening our new town manager will be sworn in during our regular meeting, Scott Mazzaros. And Commissioner Legg, we're glad that you could be with us this evening. Hope that you're continuing to get better. And we do appreciate the fact that you do want to be a part of this budget workshop. Okay, I'll turn it over to Mr. Zale.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the board. First of all, before we do anything with the budget, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be your interim manager. It's been an absolute privilege to get to work with the awesome staff here. Just had a blast. I can't believe 3 months has gone by like in a blur. It's unbelievable, but just a fabulous staff, and I absolutely appreciate working with all of you. And I love how they work together. It's awesome. And I have a couple observations in my 3 months that I'd like to share with the board. Things that might be just me, but things that I'd like you to hear. One of the things, as a board, I noticed that on agenda weeks, the board members like to send into Jane ideas to add to the agenda. But every one of your agendas has an addition or deletion on it. And the problem with board members doing that individually is the other board members don't actually get to see it until they get here to the meeting. Whereas if you did it during the meeting, then you hear it all at the same time, and then you can make decisions, whether it's something that everybody wants to talk about or not. But I don't know, that could be just me, but you've got it on every agenda. It says additions and deletions on there. So another observation is that board members have a tendency to like to use the staff as your staff. And the staff is his staff, not your staff. And so it works better when you go through him. It works perfect when you go through him because you have no idea the awkward position that you put staff in when you ask them to do something, when they're doing something they've already been told to do by their manager. Okay, so it's one of those things that you put people in awkward positions because of your position. And so kind of put yourself in their place because they can't say no. They're locked in, you know, it's like, what do I do? So use the manager. That's the main thing that I observed. Also, you have board selected committees, and it's sort of the same thing where you have a board member on the committee, but you also have chosen a staff member to be on the committee. And that's his staff that you're asking to do your work. So again, go through the manager. To me, if you go through the manager, it is going to work so much better, and it's not going to put the staff in an awkward position. So much for the pedestal. I'll get off the pedestal. And it was May 17th when we had the budget meeting, and we presented a $14.3 million budget that was balanced, had no tax increase, and we answered all the questions. If I recall, we answered everybody's questions, and there were things that we wanted to add here, we wanted to do this, but there was no consensus on the board. And we feel like you have got a balanced budget, and we would like you just to accept the budget that we have presented. Now, I know that we have been presented some things with, I think it's the historical committee, that came in late, way late. because their original request had nothing for the period house. But what we think is, because your priority, according to the March 5th retreat, was to finish the chapel, get the chapel finished. Now, we do have money in the budget to do those bathrooms for the chapel. When you get to the historical, or to the period house, do a budget amendment at that time. And at that time, you'll go out and get a bid for it, and you'll have an actual dollar amount that you can do a budget amendment for.
Yep.
So whenever that you do that. So, you know, I just feel like you've got a budget here that meets the needs of the departments, not all of them. Meets the needs of the citizens, probably not all of them, but it's gonna meet the service level that you guys expect. And so we're just asking that you approve the budget. Any questions?
Any questions? Commissioner Legg, do you have any questions?
Anybody read lips?
Yes, sir. Mr. Morrow.
The only questions I had, I asked Drew the other day, last week when I was in here. I had some questions about some permit fees. He answered those for me. And I also had I had asked him, and help me out, Mayor, and you can too, Drew. The monies that was left, or the monies that were donated for the park, the inclusive, is that what we're talking about?
The inclusive.
The inclusive park. You said that we could use that money, is that correct, to do the planning part of that project? I know we won't know.
We've already got the planning part for the inclusive play, well, not the inclusive playground, the water,
Splash
splash
pad.
pad.
the splash pad design is in here. We've got roughly 18,000, I think, was the money we raised for the inclusive park. And I don't know, Marco, is that planning in process, or where we're gonna wait till the splash pad is done? I don't remember exactly, but we still have those funds available for that when we get to it.
I was wondering if those funds could be used this budget year to do the preliminary stuff, so we could get to the point where we could find out how much it's gonna cost us.
Right.
So maybe next budget year, we can try to maybe budget something toward that.
Right. That'd be-
I just had a Zoom meeting with McAdams yesterday, and I told them to hold tight until we made the decision. to do that. So, yes, they can. They've started some preliminary concepts for the playground, but they can definitely get us through what we call schematic design for the playground, stick drawings, so we can take it through the plan approval process, site plan process. So we can definitely move on with the playground in conjunction with the splash pad.
But it's not allocated now. When we get ready to do that, that's another thing we can do as a budget limit, just allocate those funds and then hire McAdams to start that process.
I guess the question would be to the rest of the board. I mean, I know I just brought that up, but if the rest of the board would be interested in maybe moving forward with that or doing something with that, with those monies to move in that direction.
Yeah.
But like you say, we can work on that later on as a
Right, we can
budget amendment.
when we get ready to do it.
Yes. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I guess it's my turn
All right.
for some questions. Well, we left off, Bill. Well, I don't think we did have consensus on some of the items. So I'm going to come back to the ones that we left off on. And one of them was, I can understand the position of not adding additional personnel. I got that. Yep, I got that. I also look at the COLA. And I think that was one of the biggest keys that I was looking at for the year. I look at recruitment and retention. So when I do that, I look at what are the other municipalities doing in their budgets. The county's doing a 3% full year. The city's doing the same thing full year. Now, I'm not saying that we match them 3%. What I am asking is the same thing that I asked a couple weeks ago, is that I'd like to see our greatest asset in this town, which is our employees that deliver the services to our citizens, receive COLA for the entire year. And I look at that in two ways. Either all the employees, and if not, then at least the employees below department head level. I bring that request again tonight for consideration. I feel strong about it. I felt strong about it 2 weeks ago. I still feel strong about it tonight. We're saving, I think, $110,000 from this past year. And that $110,000 represents all the employees that have had a part in saving that. And I presented that a couple weeks ago, that we could use either all of it or some of it toward a full year of COLA for our employees. I also checked some other municipalities. There are some that's not doing any COLA. And that's based on revenues, that's based on location. It's a lot of different factors that go into why some communities aren't doing COLAs. And then I look at our community here in Cumberland County, and when I see the city and especially Cumberland County, they're doing the same thing. They're doing it for a full year. And we already have recruitment and retention issues here in this town. And we're offering 1.5 for half a year. It just concerns me, Bill. There was a couple pieces of equipment that I was looking at too. One of them was that 24-year-old tractor. I can't remember. You can ask either Don or Bruce which piece of equipment that thing is. I think it was a Ventrac multi-purpose tractor. But when we get something 24 years of age and we're still trying to maintain it, we're probably lucky if we can find parts for it. I just think that we should replace it. And then I come to the basketball court. Maybe my last one, Mayor. I think. Well, yeah, no, there's one more. I come to the basketball court. As many of you know, I usually walk this track two or three times a week. And there's a lot of folks that walk this track with me. This one, the one down at the golf course. And some of the comments I've heard here lately have been, what happened to our basketball court? There's no back. It's not operational. What happened to it? I don't think we have the money to move it. I don't think we have the funds to pave it correctly. But I would like to see it open, and I'd like to see a fence put around it where it's gated, locked, and controlled. And offer that as part of our recreational package to our citizens, like we do baseball, soccer, and every other sport in our town. I don't know all the circumstances that happen out there, Bill, behind it, what happened, but violence will occur. It happens in every city, every municipality. Some control it, some don't. But I have learned over the years that the way to control something like that is sometimes you just have to fence it and put gates on it. And if something gets out of hand, you lock it. You put a camera on it. My last one, and I felt strong about this one too, was some ADA water fountains in the main park. There's not one in that main park out there. Not one. And if we're going to be ADA compliant in our parks, which I hope we are, that's what we've That's the direction we've been in. We can at least put a couple of them out there. I think the price was, believe it or not, $1,900 a piece. At least one or at least two in our parks. But at least one for sure. And I would ask that we would consider doing that as well. So with that said, Mayor, those are the items that were on my mind several weeks ago. They're not a lot of items, just a few. I've even backed off the benches on Gulfview Greenway. There was some citizens that would like to see one or two benches out there in certain locations, but we probably can do something over the year to facilitate that, maybe. But Bill, those are my items. And I would appreciate the board listening to me and weighing in if possible. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Warner, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve the annual operating budget for the fiscal year 2021-22, and for us to go ahead and adopt it.
It's a point of order, Mayor. We can't do it in this meeting. It has to be done in regular session after the public hearing. This is a workshop.
I understand. Commissioner Edwards, that will be something that we have to wait, but is there something that you'd like to add to the discussion before?
Yeah, I would like to add something, that if
Okay.
we're going to start comparing ourselves with other municipalities and everything, I'd like to remind everybody that all the municipalities around us have a senior citizen center, and Hope Mills does not. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
That's a good point.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I am not opposed to a full year COLA, but the only thing that does not sit right with me in this budget is I do not like the idea that if you can't fund one position, you don't fund any of them, because I feel like all of these positions will be staring us in our face next year. I believe that we should try to work and phase and fill at least one per year or two per year, but I do not believe that if you can't fund all of them, you shouldn't fund any of them, because the people operate the town and they will not stay if they're overworked and if they're stretched and if they're not appreciated. So I don't have a problem with the full COLA, but I have a problem with it where we could use that money and fund or partially fund a position. That's the only thing that does not sit well with me.
Okay. Any other comments? Anything that you'd like to discuss, or as far as, this is a workshop and we do have the budget hearing.
Mayor,
Yes,
how far would that $100 and some thousand take us? Is anybody?
What?
Commissioner Bellflower's had mentioned using how much was it?
110 estimate, right?
$110,000.
That's a rough estimate where we might wind up with at the end of this budget year, at the end of this year.
I was just
That money
curious
will go into
as,
fund balance
yeah,
as part of our town reserves.
I was just curious how far that 110,000 would take you. I can't imagine it would take you very far, but I mean, I don't even think, would that even fund a full year?
Yeah, it would fund it.
Fund the COLA, but what you have to realize is we've already used about $596,000 worth of fund balance to balance this budget of our reserves for one-time capital items. It's just not a wise practice to use fund balance for operating expenses.
You don't use fund balance or raise taxes for ongoing costs. You do it for
One-time projects.
Right.
Just asking.
Absolutely. And like I said, all these things are legitimate. We would love to be able to do it. We'd love to be able to get all the equipment that everybody asks for. But the revenues only go so high, and everything is controlled by revenue.
any other questions or just concerns? At this time then, if there's nothing that we can add to the budget and nothing that we're gonna change on the budget, then I guess we just need to wait for our budget hearing, which is gonna come during public hearings, and see what this general population, if we have any citizens that come, and then after that opportunity then we can, make the decision on whether or not to approve the budget. Is this not true?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns that anyone has? Okay, at this time then, I would request a motion to adjourn this meeting, and then we will come back and reconvene at our regular time for our 7 o'clock meeting. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Jerry said motion to adjourn, I'll second it.
All right, motion to adjourn a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed, we'll see you back at 7.